back down into something fun, small and enjoyable. So we're in a little Abarth Scorpioneoro, Scorpion something or other, and is limited to one of 2,000. And for all I can really tell, it's just a bit of a paint job, if I'm honest with you. It's a black car with gold wheels and gold accents. There is something that really annoys me about this car, and it's a tiny, tiny little thing, is why the hell did Fiat not put a painted stripe on it? It's a sticker. It really annoys me. I don't know why it really annoys me, but it does really annoy me. It's a small thing, but it really annoys me. This car, £22,000. It's got 165 brake horsepower, 230 Newton meters of torque. Does 0-60 in 7.3 odd seconds. The way this little car can hold on to speed going round corners is just so much fun. You end up stirring this little 5-speed gearbox, wrestling with the steering. Now the steering, it's a bit of a bone of contention again. The steering is relatively vague when it's in normal mode. When you put it in sport mode, it just stiffens up way too much. Just way too much. It feels like the steering wheel won't come off center, and you have to wrestle it across, then it doesn't feel, you sort of push it now. Yeah, it just feels really, I don't want to say absolutely no feel through the steering, but there is not very much feel through the steering. This car, you've got to remember, has been out since, what, 2008? Maybe? 58 plate? See those around? And it's been out now for nearly sort of 13 years, and it hasn't changed an enormous amount. This 1.4 litre T-Jet 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged, is still very similar feeling to the one that I first drove, 13 years ago. I've actually owned one of these, so I do really like them. The sat-nav and the infotainment system works really nicely. The dash and screen in front of you is really cool. This car appeals to obviously a lot of people because a lot of people have bought them. They still are buying them. This, even though it has a £22,000 price tag, that doesn't really matter, does it? Because this on the monthly, I'm sure, is 300 quid a month or something, or 250 quid a month, and it's a great little fun run around. If you live in a city and you want something with a little bit of poke, that when you get out onto a lovely little B road, this car is so perfect for that. It's really good fun. It's an absolute hoot, and it teaches you quite a lot. It's a very short wheelbase, so when you get really hard on the brakes, the hazard warning lights come on way too early for my liking, but you feel the weight go over the front end, and you can really sort of feel it sort of dancing into a corner, and I quite like that. But be careful, because it's such a short wheelbase, you could probably spin this very easily. It still suffers from the same problems, such as the seats are too high. They're lovely seats, they're still the same shape as the other one, so there's very minimal support at the top of the seat, but they're too high in the car. I want them to be lower down so you feel more connected with the car. The steering wheel will not change, and it drives me up the wall. I just want this to be lower in the car, steering wheel towards my chest, and it would be such a nicer car to drive because of it. The gearbox, the 5-speed gearbox, absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's quite easy to grab gears and stir quite quickly, which is actually quite nice and really enjoyable, because you have to always be in the turbo and really on song with this car. It revs to 6-ish thousand RPM, but you don't really pay attention to that. When you're in sport mode, the car really feels like it sort of tightens up and gets all excited, like a little puppy dog. That's sort of how it feels. The accelerator becomes much more responsive. The steering, as I say, goes a little bit too stiff. You get a silly little G meter in front of you that tells you not an enormous amount, but tells you how many G you're pulling, which is extremely distracting because you try and look at that as you go around a corner, which I would not advise. You get the boost gauge from the original new version of the Abarth. You've got this enormous boost gauge that dances about up to 1.2 bar. It says sport in big writing and does not an enormous amount more. It's just a laugh a minute, I tell you. The thing is, you're not driving it vastly fast the whole time, because it isn't massively fast. It isn't a silly fast car, but it's, you know, the 0 to 60 time of 7.3. It feels quicker than that. It really does. And once you're up it, it's just the way it holds on to corners and holds on to speed through corners. It's a lovely small little car, so we're on some little B roads at the moment. And it's just a complete hoot. You've got a lot of corners. Look at that, it holds through. I nearly fell out of the seat then, as I was saying, the seats could be better. Heel and toe very easy, but the brake pedal does go away from you a little bit, and then you do feel like you have to sort of reach across for the accelerator pedal. It sounds fine. It's obviously with Euro 6, everything's got a little bit duller. It's still, you can still hear that little 1.4 litre engine fizzing away in front of you. On motorways, you think of these cars, think of these little Fiat 500s as being something you couldn't use on a motorway. I've used it on a motorway today. It was absolutely fine. And you can just dart in and out of traffic in a city. So if you live in a city and you want something with a little bit of punch, that's a little bit of fun and looks really cool, because let's be honest, it does look cool. I even quite like the black with gold wheels, because I know a few other manufacturers doing that these days. And Porsche, BMW with their M2 CS, you can buy the gold wheels on the black. It's still wicked fun. It really is. The brakes are really strong and mighty, but the car is not very heavy, so it feels like it's not very heavy. But the hazards do come on too early when you get into the corner. Here we go, all the way through the revs. It dies off at 6,000 RPM. This is a bumpy little road. It's actually not too bad. I know I look like I'm probably being chucked around. Listen to it. Look at it go. What a little hoot of a car. It's brilliant. It's so much fun. And if I was 21 years old, 25 years old, lived in a city, and I thought, do you know what? I want something that's just going to really put a smile on my face and really be good fun. I would look no further. I would genuinely go straight to the Abarth dealership and I would grab myself one of these for next to nothing. One thing you do find with these is you end up driving them like a bit of a lunatic everywhere you go, because it eggs you on. And remember, the second-hand market in these as well is amazing. If you want one of the little specials, this little 595 Scorpioneoro or Scorpioneoro, whatever it's called, is, you know, is a super cool one of 2,000. So you can say it's like a, you know, a silly fancy watch or something that means really nothing. It's just black and gold. There is room in the back. It's not a lot of room. I had someone that was 6'3" in the back of it a couple of days ago, and they were cramped. The boot's not very big. It's not enormously practical, but it is super fun.